Hello, fifth grade. Today is Wednesday, and we're going to be going over angles and triangles in math on page 245 through 246. So I put up our geometry shapes over here just to kind of remind you of a few things. One, we want to remember line, segment, and point. We want to see our lines, but we're also remembering our angle, right angle, congruent angles, okay? That lesson is actually leading us into a little bit about our angles and our triangles. So let's go ahead and take a look at the box as well as the page so you can see where we're going with all of this. So we're going to go with our congruent angles. We did talk about those a couple days ago. And so those are containing the same number of degrees. Remember, I told you that this right here, this little half circle thing inside the angle is actually showing you how wide it is or how small the angle is this way. And when you have two that are the exact same size, you then have congruent angles. Okay, then when we have our right angle, don't forget that that little box is indicating a 90-degree angle. So every time you see that little box, you're going to know automatically 90 degrees. So if I were to say, what is the angle of this figure right here, or this geometric or geometry shape or line, you would say, or angle, you would say it's right and it's 90 degrees automatically because you see that square right there. You will always know that that angle is 90 degrees no matter what. Now, when you end up having one where it has the little curve, that means you're going to have to figure that out, or sometimes it's given to you. Now, here we have our right angle, right? Perfectly horizontal and vertical. But when we have a lower angle like this, that's called an acute angle, okay? So I would say cute for little, right? So little means acute. So it's less than 90 degrees, okay? So acute angle, less than 90 degrees. Then we have our obtuse angle, okay? Obtuse means it's bigger, it's wider, right? It's got a bigger, wider angle. You can see that right here. Obtuse for bigger, okay? And so you'll know that this angle is always going to be greater than 90 degrees, okay? Obtuse meaning greater, bigger, okay? Then if you have a straight line with your point right there, because that's, remember, the vertex is being shown right here, so you're not actually seeing the point, but on a straight line, they've got to show you that this is a point right here in the middle. Now, if you have a straight line with that point and then you have the angle, you're going to know that that's a 180-degree angle. Always 180-degree angle is a straight line. So you're already given a 90-degree angle for right angle, and you're giving a 180-degree angle for a straight angle. So you already know those two automatically, okay? That helps you when we move into our triangle phase, okay? So when you have a triangle, you know that you have 3 points, and these points are the vertexes, right? So now, the unique thing about this, and I'm going to write it right here, okay? So we're doing this right here, okay? We're doing triangle. Okay, that's not getting, there we go, okay. A triangle has 3 points, right? We always know that. It has 3 sides, 3 points, okay? So a triangle, you could say A plus B plus C equals 180 degrees, okay? Now, you're going, why are you telling me this? And I'm going to tell you, because eventually you're going to end up finding out the different angles in a triangle, okay? So you just have to remember, if you are given these 3 angles, you could fill them in to A plus B plus C equals 180 degrees. That would be a triangle. So as long as, remember, we have 180 on one side, right? If we added these all up and we have 180 is 180, then we know we found all the correct angles to those 3 sides. But if you don't have 180 equals 180, then you did something wrong with your math, or you weren't given the right numbers, but you did not find the angles of the triangle, okay? So A plus B plus C equals 180, no matter what. Sometimes they're going to give you two of the triangle angles and ask you to find the third one. Well, pretty easy. I'm jumping ahead here to let you know. But if you add those two together and subtract it from 180, you'll get that third angle, because no matter what, adding up A, B, and C will give you 180 degrees with any triangle, okay? So that leads us into a right triangle. Now, a right triangle will have that box, remember, showing our 90 degrees angle, and then it will have two other angles. So if you were to be given these two, and you already know that that square equals 90, if you added all three up, you could get your 180, right? So don't forget that's why I was saying it over there. It's so important to know that that square is 90 degrees. You'll always know that one. So don't come back to school one day and go, I don't know what the square means. The square means 90-degree angle, okay? Then we have our isosceles triangle. Now, our isosceles triangle means that these two sides have the same, are the same in length, okay? Which means they're also the same in angle, okay? So these two would be the same because of the way this is. So technically, you could do this and see your isosceles, but this one up here, that third angle would be different, right? An isosceles triangle has two sides that are congruent and the same, okay? Now, up here we have our equilateral. Now, our equilateral triangle has all three sides that are the same. So that would mean that all three angles would be the same. So if I were to give you one of those angles, guess what? It would have to be a third of 180, right? Because if I added all three up, it has to equal 180. So if you're given one side and you see all these little equilateral lines, then you're going to know all the same angles are exactly the same because of those equilateral lines, these little congruent lines. And because you have all three, you have your equilateral triangle. Kind of understanding what's going on? Okay, I hope you do. So let's take a look at number 1A, and it says name the type of triangle. So I want you to take a look. 1A has those equilateral lines on two of the sides. So take a look which one you think it's going to be. Two sides, right, is an isosceles triangle. So you're going to write isosceles triangle next on the line. Okay? Now do number 1B. Take a look. You now have a triangle. It's showing you two angles, but then it's showing you a square in one. What does that square mean? It means a 90 degree. Now, if any triangle has that square, you automatically know it's a right triangle. So go ahead and write right triangle on the line. How are we doing? Okay. So now we have the third one, 1C. Now we have where it has three of those little lines, right? Or three of those little lines, right? And those are the congruent lines showing all three angles are the same. What does that mean? That means we have our equilateral triangle of three sides, right? So go ahead and write equilateral on the line. Okay, so now here's where I said, let's measure some triangles, okay? I was trying to preempt you for this, so let's see how you guys do with this. Number 2A, it says, find the measures of the third angle in each of the triangles, okay? So I'm going to step over here to the side a little bit and see how we do. And it's showing you that you have this triangle, right? And one of these we already know is 90 degrees, right? And then we have this one, which is 60 degrees, and you're trying to find this one right here, Okay, we're on 2A. So now what you have to do is you have to add up 90 plus 60, okay, and that would equal 150, right? Okay, then you know that A plus B plus C equals 180. Remember, A plus B plus C equals 180. We got to get 180 on each side. So we know that we now have 150 plus, and say we're going to say C because 150 was like A and B. So we're going to go like 90 plus 60 plus C equals 180. Can you see it? Okay. So basically that's what I did over here, right? I'm writing it all out. So now I got to find C. So if I have, I'm going to write this over here so you see it. Plus 60 plus C equals 180, okay? So what we were doing is we're adding these all up, right? And what we're trying to do is we ended up getting 90 plus C is 1, okay, so I have 150 plus C equals 180. Now I can subtract 150 from this side and 150 from that side, right? So that cross cancels out and it gives me C equals, and I get 30 when I subtract, right? So I know that my third angle is 30 degrees because when I add 90 plus 60 plus 30, I get 180. And I was out of the screen. Sorry about that. I'm trying to use all the board here. Okay, so you just want to remember that when you add them all up, they got to equal 180. So if you have two angles, you add those two up, you subtract from 180, and that will find your third angle. So I want you guys to go ahead and do B, C, and D. Now remember, once you get the answer, double check, and if you can add the two they gave you and the answer together and you get 180, then you know that you have all the right angle, what they're equal to. You have all the right answers, right? That your answer that you got is correct. So you have to make sure that you add them all up, okay? So then go ahead and do 3. That asks you some questions. 4 has you rename those figures that we learned from yesterday. 5 answers some questions regarding diagonal, okay? That one might be a little bit tricky, but let me show you a little bit of that. When it says 5A says, which side is parallel to B or A and B? Well, you have A and B. What would be parallel? That's the one on top. That would be C and D. That would be parallel. So you just have to remember all those things. Parallel, congruent, what's beside each other, what is the diagonal line, what are the vertexes. Those are the things that you're writing on the line. So go ahead and finish 5, and then you'll be renaming 6 and completing the rest of the page. If you have any questions regarding these geometric shapes or angles, triangles, or any of the geometry, then just let me know when we have our individual meetings, okay? And that was angles and triangles.